Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the second parallel session. I'm Sakifa and I will be the moderator and timekeeper for the session. Ladies and gentlemen, the presentation is about to begin. There will be four presenters today in this room. Each presenter will be allocated 10 minutes to present the papers. I will remind you when it's already 8 minutes. After all presenters present their papers, I will lead you to the question and answer session. Without further ado, I call upon the first presenter to present the paper. Ms. Anissa Ramadlani, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the moderator. Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Yes? Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. I'm going to share some materials. Can I share screen? Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anissa Ramadlani from Polytechnic Negeri Cilacap, and today I will be sharing findings from my study entitled Exploring Speaking Anxiety Triggers in a Polytechnic ESP course. The study focuses on when and why engineering students feel anxious during English for specific purposes speaking task. Okay, English for specific purposes, or ESP, in Polytechnic context is actually at the intersections of language education, vocational training, and industry-facing professional practices. So unlike general English courses that emphasize broad communicative competence, ESP in Polytechnic is explicitly needs-driven. So it equips students to perform discipline-specific tasks like reading maintenance manuals, kemudian writing incident reports, and then pitching design solutions, presenting safety briefings, and etc. And then our research is carried out in Polytechnic Cilacap, and we have 13 study programs, and all use ESP for the English class. And for your information, since Polytechnic is a vocational higher institutions, about 70% of the materials are in the form of practices, while the rest are theories. The challenge of ESP in Polytechnic institutions actually varied. So students handle many types of communications, SOPs, maintenance logs, purchase notes, and short stand-ups briefings, and etc. And then many talks are actually multimodal. They mix words, numbers, diagrams, and screenshots. So there is a heavy load of technical terms and fixed phrases. And students must say things like lock out, and then take out, and then verify conformance, or run a leak down test, and say them fast and clearly. Students also have to talk while they do something else, like when they do operating tools and then running software or checking data. So language competes with the other mental works. For us, that alone adds pressures. Our students are also diverse, so they come with different English levels and different exposure to technical talks. Many are first-generation college students. Most are very focused on getting a job and staying safe. They are motivated, but confidence usually drops when the talks feel hard or the words feel out of reach. Most prior studies rely on global measures of language anxiety, such as Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, or FLCAS, to tell us whether learners are more or less anxious. The thing is, they rarely pinpoint the exact classroom moments that makes ESP learners freeze. Is it lag prep time, the fear of misusing technical terms, the pressure of presenting, or social factors like mixed gender audiences? ESP groups engineering students who must speak about concrete technical content. Sometimes they remain underrepresented. So it leads us to the conclusion that there is a need of fine-grained learner reported triggers to design targeted pedagogy. So our research objectives are to identify specific classrooms moments that trigger ESP speaking anxiety, and then provide task level picks or through from Likert items, distill inductive themes for learners, open-ended narratives, inform targeted, anxiety-sensitive pedagogical strategies. There are theories that focus on language learning anxieties, but I'm going to just explain it briefly. So there are three that we use here. The first is Foreign Language Anxiety by Horowitz. It actually captures the size of the problem, but the thing is that the problem is that it only tells us a little about what sparks the anxiety in its ESP context, such as hitting unknown technical terms or worrying about being judged. The second theory is CVT, it's control value theory. It actually argues that anxiety rises when students see a task as important, but feel that they have little control over it. This points to practical fixes by building in support before the task and reframe its value to increase perceived controls. CVT actually help explain how students' judgment about control and importance and shape their emotions during the ESP activities. The next theory is CDST. It's complex dynamic system theory, and the ideodynamic approach that treat anxiety as something that shifts from moment to moment. So it should be captured in real time rather than as a stable trait. The other theories that may be related to our study is Bandura's self-efficacy and Fredrickson's broaden and build theory, because they show that stronger confidence and positive emotions can buffer anxiety and improve speaking performance. Okay, so the participations of our research is actually done voluntarily and anonymously. So the students recruited through convenient samplings and invited to complete the online questionnaires at their own pace. So we collected data from 8 study programs, about 101 engineering students consisting of 52 male students and 49 female students. All of the students take the ESP classes in the 2024 terms, and the data collections was conducted through a Google form survey, and then inside of the survey there are 15 Likert types items adapted from the Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, along with 3 open-ended questions. The Likert item range from strongly disagree to strongly agree, targeting dimensions of speaking anxiety, such as fear of making grammatical errors or negative evaluations, and then the qualitative component asks students to describe the classroom situations that actually make them feel nervous when speaking English, focusing especially on the questions: what usually makes you feel nervous when speaking English in front of the class? And then the analysis method, following Brown and Clark, we conducted an inductive thematic analysis with a clear step-by-step workflow. I don't think that we have enough time to describe it, so we're going to briefly explain it. So basically, we collect all of the data that we use, and then we code it and make and derived some themes, and then make it and turn it into exemplars. Okay, let's go to the findings. In our sample of 101 engineering undergraduates, so overall speaking anxiety was moderate. The mean score is 2.97 with the standard deviations of 0.71 on a 1 up to 5 scale. But the average had meaningful peaks and through. The relative consistency of these moderate levels, whether it is in the face-to-face ESP settings or online modalities, suggests an effective baseline in technical English courses that instructors actually can anticipate and address systematically. Although the score is in the moderate zone, the dispersions of the items means revealed substantial variability in how different speaking talks influenced students' comfort. The highest item was impromptu speaking or no preparations at the mean score of 3.69. I get nervous when I have to speak without preparations.
Miss, it's already 10 minutes. We kindly ask you to wrap up, please.
Okay. So let me conclude the. Okay. So actually, our study looked closely using both numbers and interviews at why ESP speaking makes students anxious. The headline is actually simple. Almost 2/3 of the worry comes from struggling to find the right technical word and from feeling their English isn't strong enough. So other issues do show up like grammar and pronunciations, speaking on the spot, and then teacher style and high-stakes situations, but they are less common. We also didn't see meaningful gender differences, which tell us these triggers cut across groups when students face on double load of technical contents and foreign language. So there are three things that actually need to be done by the mentors or the lecturer. First is prioritize text design over audience factors, and then measure anxiety at the moment of doing the talks. And then the last one is fixing the support, not just adding more presentations, because the remarks of do more presentations misses the point unless we as the lecturers scaffold terminology and perceived control. Yeah, that would be all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Miss Anissa, for the presentation. Now I call upon the next presenter, Mr. Andrian Nuriza. Time is yours. It seems that Mr. Andrian not here, so let's continue with our next presenters. Mr. Sutarno, time is yours.
Okay, hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Yes.
The camera is seem like
Yeah, sorry, there's no picture of me. I don't know what's wrong with my gadget. Yeah. Just the background. Okay. First let me share the PowerPoint. Okay. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance to deliver a presentation. And for today's presentation, I'm going to deliver a presentation entitled From Monocentric to Pluricentric Approach in Speaking Class, Exploring Accent Acceptance Among Indonesian Surface English Teachers. Okay, sorry. Okay, the first is the background and the problems. As we know that today English as lingua franca, that most communications occurs between non-native speakers. And we know that Indonesia is the fourth most populous country with 700 local language. And this local language influence the students' pronunciation and also the acquisition of English. And the problem of ELT in Indonesia is that the teaching the teaching process is dominated by a monocentric approach. The approach that idealizes American or British accent as the only standard. The teacher and also the students think that the successful of English learning is the proficiency like native like. So it causes anxiety, linguistic insecurity, and low speaking confidence among learners and pre-surface English teacher in speaking. And I propose a solution by using a pluricentric approach in teaching speaking. This is an approach that validates diverse English accents and prioritize intelligible of native-like pronunciation. Okay, the next is the research and the research objective and the questions. Actually, this study aimed to bridge the research gap by exploring some research question, three research questions. The first is, how does a pluricentric teaching method influence attitudes toward diverse English action? The second is their relationship between accent acceptance and growth in speaking confidence. And the last is, how do this experience reshape perception of accuracy and identity as global English users? Okay, the next is the research methodology. Here, I use a qualitative case study with participants for Indonesian pre-surface English teacher, and the intervention is academic speaking course incorporating a pluricentric principle by exposure to various accents via video of YouTube, podcast, intercultural conversation, recorded TED talks, and etc. And the data collection is the semi-structured interview with 7 to 10 minutes for each students, and the analysis, data analysis is thematic analysis using Brown and Clark. Okay. And the next is the finding and discussion. The finding one, shift in attitudes towards the accents from anxiety to appreciation. The first initial, the students feel frustration with the non-native accent since they usually only know the native accents. So when the teacher show the non-native accent, they feel they don't understand at the first since they're not really what is familiar with the accents. And the next is the structure. Exposure led to normalization and appreciation of the diversity. When the teacher expose the students with the non-native action, they led to what is the normalize and also appreciate the diversity of the actions. The next is the constructing the native speaker ideal, and it is redefine the correct English from native-like pronunciation to mutual intelligibility. And the next is developing a strategic competence that they gain metacognitive listening skill by listening the different accents, like listening for the keywords and also using the context. And the founding tool about the accent acceptance and speaking confidence. Uh, the first is mitigation of accent anxiety. The students, after learn using the plucentric approach, they feel the liberation from the pressure to sound like native speaker, and it is increase their willingness to speak. And the next is about the reframing communication from a test of perfection, like a native speaker, to a collaborative effort from meaning negotiation. And the next is embracing a new identity. Is the way to shift from a failed native speaker to legitimate a global English user, and they feel confidence derived from ownership, not imitation. Okay, the finding tree, reshaping a perception of accuracy, the paradigm shift from a phonological perfection, like the native speaker, to intelligibility and effectiveness. And it is also witnessing that successful non-native communication was a game changer. And the next is about the strategic and empathic competence that students' active use of strategies and empathy when communication challenge arise. And the next is about a solidified confidence identity. They feel confidence built on power ability to function effectively in a multilingual world. And the next is about the discussion and implication. That the plucentric pedagogy is a powerful tool for transforming beliefs, anxiety, and identity. And the key implication for teacher in education in Indonesia is that a curriculum reform which integrate the word English paradigm and English lingua franca to teacher training. And the next is about the assessment reform, that we have to prioritize intelligibility and communicative effectiveness. And the last is the pedagogical shift that foster a critical self-reflection to break the cycle of native speaker ideology. Okay, that's all my presentation. Oh, yeah, sorry. The last is the conclusions. Yeah, the conclusion and the confidence is not a prerequisite for communication, but a product of it. And the plucentric approach is an approach that validates learners' linguistic identities, prepares them for the reality of global communication, and it is builds authentic and sustainable confidence. That this shift is crucial for developing a globally competent and confident English teacher and speaker in Indonesia. So that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sutarno, for the presentation. Now I call upon the next presenter.
Ms. Sakifa, kindly unmute your menu.
What's the problem, Miss?
At that time, we cannot hear your voice, and now it is audible. So we don't know what you are trying to speak to us. Who is the next presenter?
Oh, the next presenter is Miss Mega.
Okay, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now let me share
Waalaikumsalam
the
warahmatullahi
screen.
wabarakatuh.
Yep. In this very special occasion, I would like to share the study talking about exploring undergraduate students' motivation in reading multimodal stories. It is written by the promoters of this English education study program, English department of UNES. And now we come to the information that reading as an essential skill in English language acquisition is a significant focus of the second language learning. Here we connect that the students reading deals with the motivation. It is stated that motivation as the catalyst for students to engage with a text persistently even when faced with challenging section. Based on the preliminary study, the students were less motivated to read. Therefore, providing pathway on reading will help them to open their knowledge, as stated by PAR 2020. Here, what the applications, what the implementation, the implementation used in the study is by using the multimodal stories. As what we have known that multimodal stories are stories which are presented in several modes. It can be audio, visual, gestural, spatial. For the research problem here is about how stories that therefore to connect this research problem, the purpose of the study is to explore how the students were motivated in reading multimodal stories. Talking about the research method, the first is about the participants. There are 15 undergraduate students of second semester students who joined the reading class of a certain private university in Semarang. The instrument was in the form of questionnaire. It is about reading motivation questionnaire taken from Kutri 1997. As what we have known that the motivation itself firstly dealt or built the study on I use that as the instrument. The questionnaire here was just to the 8 indicators to know the students' motivation reading. The first is reading curiosity, reading involvement, reading for challenge, reading for cognition, reading for grade, reading for social, reading for competition, and reading for compliance. Those are the main of the the mean score of each indicator. Now we talk about the motivation itself, that the motivation discussed here is about whether students' motivation is intrinsic or extrinsic. The indicators are divided into intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation encompasses external factors like incentive, acknowledgement, and avoiding adverse outcome. What about the extensive itself, as what we have seen from the indicator? Here is the finding based on the calculation that they found they had to read to finish their assignment, that they tune in interest to read after the students get the information from the teacher. And students also like it when the teacher gave them challenging stories because they could learn new vocabularies. It is reasonable as stated by Aliman. Then talking about the extrinsic, here is their information that social got the third place that motivated students to read stories. It indicates that reading stories as a social activity they can share to their friends. Existing research highlights the importance of both intrinsic and extrinsic motivations in shaping reading behaviors, with intrinsic motivation strongly associated with academic self-confidence and cognitive development. At the school play pivotal roles in driving reading behaviors, with intrinsic motivation have a slight greater influence. Those are the explanation. I'll give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Mega. So the next presenter is, I'm going to call back Mr. Andrian. He's still not here. Okay, so I will going to Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for question and answer session. I give the time for the audience to ask questions for the presenters. It's also possible for presenters to ask other presenter. Please keep the questions short.
Yeah, may I, ma'am? Miss? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Maulina. I'm a graduate student of English Education Master Program in UNES, Universitas Negeri Semarang. And I would like to ask a question to Miss Anissa regarding her journal. Okay. You are talking about the speaking anxiety in ESP. My question is, do you think speaking anxiety in ESP is different from anxiety in general English classes? And how can your research be applied in other fields beyond engineering? So that's my question for Miss Anissa. And I also have a question to Miss Mega. Okay, so I'm curious about if you could compare multimodal reading with traditional reading. What is the highlight differences in students' engagement? I would like to know what's your view about that. And that's all my question for the two of you. Thank you for the time, and thank you in advance for the answers.
Okay, thank you for the question, Miss Maulina. So please, Miss Anissa or Miss Mega to answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Maulina, for the questions. Your question is about the difference between the anxiety that we found in ESP and the difference of it with the one that we find in general English. So actually, the applications of ESP and the method that we use to teach English in ESP scopes is different, a bit different with the one and the materials that are taught during the general English. The thing is that students in ESP classes, they need to learn the technical terms. They need to learn about how to do their works well, including the manual notes, and then they have to communicate a lot for the safety reasons. So there are things that come to their mind when they have to speak in front of publics and in front of the classes, for example, is that they have difficulty in finding the correct technical terms. So it's a bit different with the one in general English. So when we talk about general English, so you can use like idioms that you can find in daily basis. But when you talk about ESP, so we talk about technical terms, especially when we talk about engineering. So that is actually one of the highlight of my study, because that problem happens in my classes, especially in engineering classes. They really find it hard to use technical terms and to find technical terms when they have to communicate. That's the first. The second one is that it is hard for them to really understand the content of the communications. So when we have materials and then they have to present it in front of the class, sometimes they find it difficult to even answer questions. So they sometimes it is hard for them to understand the content of the discussions. That's the other problem with our ESP learning, especially in engineering scopes. There is also not yet a proper curriculum for us regarding ESP for certain study program. For example, one of my study program here in Polytechnic Cilacap is environmental engineering. So we talk a lot about environments. We talk a lot about pollutions, but there is not yet a curriculum or module for it. So it is hard for them to, for the students to find the materials or even learn the materials properly. So yeah, that actually is the difference with the general English, because when we talk about general English, you can find materials maybe easier than the one that we use in ESP, especially in engineering. That is my answer, Miss Maulina.
Thank you so much for the clear explanation, Miss Anissa.
You're welcome, Miss Maulina.
Thank you, Miss Anissa, for the answer. So the next is Miss Mega.
Thank
Please,
you for the chance given, Miss Sakifa. Thank you, Miss Maulina, for the question. Before I continue to answer the question, kindly to agree with Miss Anissa about the English for specific purposes. Actually, especially for engineering, it's hard for the teachers to find the sources, and it is quite different with the general language or general English. Yeah. And I do agree, actually, Miss Anissa. Yeah. Hope it can add more information for Miss Maulina talking about the question given to Miss Anissa. And now I would like to answer the question given what makes the multimodal stories different with the traditional stories like this. Okay. The difference is by looking at the basic or the base sources. The use of multimodal here is because of the technological implementation. Right now, technology has been huge. Has been huge for the students, not only for having their self order, but also for their daily learning. And there are many sources or stories introduced multimodally, which help the students enjoy not only reading the text, but also knowing the audio. So you can find any sources in a reading channel that the multimodal stories are there, and it introduces the students not only the text, linguistics, visual, or audio, but also the gestures or spatial in the sources. So that's the basic, because the traditional one, maybe it is only one mode, not only several modes, but for the multimodal, we have several modes as explained previously. Do I answer your question?
Yes, it's very clear, Miss Mika. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Mega, for the explanation. Okay, because the time for the question and answer session has run out, I will end it here. Thank you for your participation for this session. Okay, this is the end of second parallel session. I congratulate you all for having been successfully presenting the papers. After this, all presenters and participants, please go to the main room to have the fifth plenary session with Dr. Navia Trisanti. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you, Miss Sarita.